To me they look like portraits. It's like portraits of peace, or medallions, like keepsake and memories. To cut the queues maybe a little bit, because I've been queuing in April and in June by about 45 minutes physically, because I didn't get a ticket online, you might get here a bit earlier. So it opens at 9:30, and now at 8:45 there are a few people here. So the chances are bigger that you will not queue for that long. You almost cannot believe it's the 1st of November. What many visitors do not know is that this garden always has consisted of two parts. Now a car road runs through the middle of it, but before its existence there used to be a railway. You walk down the end of this road and then you walk under the road to get to the famous part with the water lilies and that green bridge, which is almost impossible to get a picture of when there is nobody there.
Claude Monet loved nature. He purchased this house and garden, and from 1892, 6 gardeners and more staff took care of this estate and household. The inside of his house later had a dark room for photography. Monet was much inspired by Japanese art, and therefore one of his gardens on the other side of the road, which he acquired slightly later, is in Japanese style, of course including the much versatile bamboo. Experimenting in the beginning, the water in the pond had to be heated for the sensitive Japanese flowers to survive. For this purpose, locks were installed to control the creek running through it. This caused loud protest from the inhabitants of Giverny, who were used to wash in this creek and suspected that the new exotic plants would poison or pollute the water severely.
That is a really good size of a rose bush. It is almost as large as a tree. It is really crowded, but sometimes it's possible to find a spot and make it look like there is no one else.
In April, you are met by trees wonderfully clad in pink as you walk up to the house and gardens. If you turn left, in high season, there are cute local food trucks around the corner. When you turn right, you will see there are also gardens surrounding the adjacent independent Musée des Impressionnismes. You can join a particular guided tour with its gardener there once a month. April is my favorite month for both gardens, as there are plenty of tulips and easier to have an overview. The Persian dulband, meaning turban, is one of the words that has given rise to the name tulip. The wild tulips can be found along the old Silk Road in the mountains Tian Shan and the Pamir Alai Massif. The first written text about tulips, which we know of, is from the end of the 11th century by the Sufic poet, mathematician and astronomer Omar Khayyam, who was surrounded by many myths. No exact sources seem to point out when the tulips reached Europe, but we know that a tulip blossomed in 1559 in Augsburg, 50 kilometers west of Munich, and was spread by the most well-known botanist during the 16th century, Charles de Lecluse, or Clusius. In 1573, he was given the task to build up a botanical garden for Emperor Maximilian II in Vienna. Rich collectionists paid big money for bulbs to be stolen from Clusius' garden. French aristocrats had serious tulip conversations. The women on Ludwig XIII's wedding in 1615 carried tulips attached to their dresses. What might be surprising is that there are no signposts in this garden in Giverny. No flower name is indicated, no historical event is mentioned, not even that to reconstruct Monet's gardens to be open to the public in the 1980s, the starting point has been to observe his flower paintings of Giverny. At one point, Claude Monet bought himself a boat that he turned into a floating atelier. When the municipality in Giverny decided to sell off the poplar trees that Monet was making paintings of in 1891, and the town mayor would not agree to postpone the auction, Monet offered the presumptive buyer to pay the difference between the auction price and the price the buyer would be prepared to give in order to keep the trees in place until the paintings were finished. And one book is claiming that Monet would go into the garden here in Giverny every evening to select which vegetables that he wanted to have served the following day. In his lifetime, Monet met Paul Cézanne, Gustave Caillebotte, Alfred Sissi, and when Émile Zola intervened in the public debate about the officer Alfred Dreyfus with the article J'accuse in 1898, Monet supported Zola's brave fight for Dreyfus and signed a manifest. The career of Claude Monet began when he at 15 started drawing caricatures and became the most famous to do so in Le Havre, asking for 10 or 20 francs per portrait. Only a few of them remain today. These caricatures were noticed by the painter Eugène Bodin and convinced Monet that if one paints right in front of nature itself, always brings more passion than it is created in the studio. Notably, painting with oil colors in nature was relatively new. The tubes with oil colors that were portable were not introduced until the 1840s. The time spent with Bodin sealed the deal, and Monet decided to become a painter. He was wayward, stubborn, would be rude and raw toward his friends, and followed his own ideas. He supported other painters to not give up, among them Auguste Renoir. Also back then, in 1865, there was a confusion between Monet and Manet. Edouard Manet was upset, asking who pretended to be named Manet to profit from his famous name. The painting style, Impressionism, was new to the public when it was presented during the Impression exhibition in 1874. It was first criticized by the painter and art critic Louis Leroy to look like marble, and you and I do not look like marble when we take a walk. One of the paintings carried the name Impression Sunrise. Impression, wrote the critic. Since I took impression, the painting itself must be an impression. The audacity to make such a claim! And soon the title had given its name to the entire painting style, and Leroy was bragging about having established it. Monet himself was against theories and scientific statements about his artwork, yet at the time it was an art style not much known by society. In the lottery event, where the highest prize was a painting by Camille Pissarro, the winner could make a choice and she preferred a cake.